Hey everyone, Tricker here. If you're newer to the channel and you like what you see, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like, because YouTube doesn't always recommend. Anyways, let's get into the video. In today's video, I want to do a beginner's killer guide. There's a lot of information that goes into this, so if I miss anything at all, I do apologize. With guide videos, there's always a clusterfuck amount of things to go over, but let's start with a beginner's guide. If you're not new to the game, then be sure to check out my more advanced guides in the future, but for now, this video will be for beginners only. The first thing I want to cover are generators. Each map spawns 7 generators, in which the survivors need to only complete 5 of them to bring the power to the exit gate switches before they can leave. Your goal as a killer is to stop survivors from completing these generators. As a killer, you have a large amount of generator regressing perks. Use them to your advantage. If you see a generator with work on it, kick that generator as you approach it when it prompts you to kick the generator. As long as nobody touches that generator again, it will regress to 0%. If you hear an explosion from a generator, that would be a failed skill check from a survivor. Now you know they're in that location. After the generators are completed, 2 exit gates will spawn as well as the hatch. If you see lights on the exit gate, be ready, that gate is probably 99% and ready to be opened at any point from a survivor. Now let's discuss survivors. Killing survivors is your primary objective. Survivors have 2 health states, injured and dying. These health states happen after you hit the survivors. 1 hit equals injured, the second hit equals dying. Once they're in the dying state, which is them laying on the ground, you can pick them up, walk them over to one of the dozens of hooks spawned throughout the map. Each survivor has to be hooked 3 times before they die. After hooking them, you have a few options here. You can wander off and look for another survivor, which is what most killers do. You can stay nearby and wait for a survivor to come make the save. That is called proxy camping. You can directly face camp that one survivor. You can also wait for them to be saved and go right after them. That is what we call tunneling. Before I continue, I'd like to say there are 2 types of tunneling. There's a soft tunnel and a hard tunnel. A soft tunnel is tunneling someone for their decisive strike and then leaving them alone. A hard tunnel is where you go after them until they're out of the game 100%. Now let's go back to where we were. I personally wouldn't recommend anything but going for a new survivor unless it's coming up on in-game and you have limited choices. Always try to have fun, and remember, any choice you make can and will always have some sort of consequences that may be good or bad. I will add, if you see someone getting unhooked, you can down that person who just got unhooked and go for the person that made the save. Yes, that is called slugging, but the way I see it is now someone has to come get them and fully heal them up. Which now 3 people will not be doing generators. You're chasing one is down, and 1 is picking that person up. That's called applying pressure. Now let's move on to looping. Survivors have pallets and windows they can use as resources to extend the chase. Your job as a killer is to win that chase as fast as possible. You can run a survivor to an area with bad pallets or no pallets, and that is called a dead zone. You will more than likely win your chase here. Each map spawns in tiles we call jungle gems, or they have specific names. You have T and L wall tiles. You have jungle gems, which is just a T and an L with a pallet and a couple other walls. Then you have the killer shack, which spawns on most maps but never on any indoor map. And the best survivor loop on any map, that's usually an outdoor map, is a jungle gem with a long T wall with a window in the center. That loop alone is the best tile to use on any killer. Your goal with loops is to shut it down as quickly as possible.
I will shut that shit down, no exception.
Forcing survivors to throw pallets early always helps. Now, speaking of pallets, each map has anywhere from 14 to 26 pallets depending on the map size. If you can apply the right pressure and get pallets out of the game as fast as possible, you can be in a great position for a win. Some pallets on the map are strong and are called God pallets. A God pallet is any pallet that completely stops a killer's chase, forcing them to break that pallet or risk losing the chase entirely. Shack pallet is what we call the OG God pallet. It is still a God pallet, but many maps have a couple very strong pallets that are considered God pallets as well. While chasing survivors around the pallets, you have 2 options. You can take the pallet hit, or you can back up when they drop it and do what we call respecting the pallet. Keep in mind, when you break the pallet, that resets the chase. With that in mind, let's talk about chases. You have chased a survivor for 15 seconds. Now you have Bloodlust. Bloodlust boosts your movement speed as long as you stay in chase. You have 3 tiers of Bloodlust. Each tier is 5%. Most but not all killers are already 15% faster than all survivors. So bloodlust isn't always needed in game, but it can be very helpful. I really hope you found this guide helpful. Now remember, this is only for brand new players. I do have plans to do more advanced guides later on. Be sure to keep an eye out for that as well. If you found this guide helpful, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel. As always, stay safe out there and good game.